All right, well, I've been battling this idea. How you guys doing anyway? Sorry. I'm so preoccupied with this Mustang. Just keep finding things going on with it that's just gonna sway me one way or the other on what I'm gonna do with this engine. And I found something here that's, I did a compression test, and that's something you should do on an old car, something with dirty and got miles on it. You don't really know the history of it, And I suspected it had some problems, but it's also fuel injected and all that stuff's really old. So let me just do a compression test on it. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I found on the worst cylinder. I'll show you what it is. My little gauge is right here, and if you can see that, I'll come back around and show it to you here in a second. Let me crank the motor over. The old compression test. Numbers don't lie. Oh yeah, let's see here. Let's see what we got. Okay, well, right there. It's like 100 pounds, basically what it is. And, that's not real good. The best one I found, let's see, I got it written down right here. Yeah. I got the best one is on the other side, right here at 160. And 155, 140, 135, but on this passenger side, there's 3 of them at 100 and 1 at 110. So that's not real good. It's very, there's none of them that are dead, but that's no good. If both sides were like this, it would be acceptable. Even 135 is like, well, it's still got some life in it, but when you're down to 100 pounds, it's not good. And actually, this one, when I first did it, was only 90, but it's come up a little bit. I don't know why. That's all I can get it to do. So that's the situation, brother. So that's it. When you're working on one of these old engines and you deal with low compression on any of them, you're kind of screwed. You can't fix that without pulling the head off, and you don't just do one, you do them both, and then you have to wonder, all right, let's just say we did a valve job and new head gaskets, and it would probably bump that up, where it's close to what it should be. But now you didn't change the rings, and it might go for a while, but I've never done it that way. I've always just went ahead and pulled it out, and rings and bearings and a valve job. But I know people that have done just a valve job and sent it down the road, and it comes back 7, 8, 10,000 miles, and it's smoking because the rings are actually tired too. They're letting a lot go. If they can't go out the valves, the compression gases will start going through the bottom, and it'll go right past some old rings, and you'll see tailpipe smoke, blue. I don't want to fool with all that, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I really wasn't, wanting to do a total motor overhaul, and it just brings another question into this. Let me walk you over here and show you something that I've been sitting on for a little while. And I probably should have uncovered this thing, but what do you think this might be? Yeah, it's a 351 Windsor, and it rotates. It's come out of a running car. It was in a 1975 Mercury Monarch. I've had it a couple of years. I actually bought it for a Cougar. I picked up an old 67 Cougar from a guy I was working with a locked up 289. And when we moved to Florida, I said, I'm not bringing this Cougar. And I had an old Dodge Dart at the same time, a yellow Dart. And I just had too much to bring down here. And that Dodge truck wasn't running. And it was just too much. So I sold the Cougar, but I kept the 351 Windsor. I don't know, really, you know, if I go through all this work, I almost want to just put the 351 Windsor in it. But I know that opens up even more stuff to think about. And, you know, a lot of Mustangs, a lot of Fox bodies with the 351 Windsors. But, I mean, I'm not a millionaire, you know, it's just money. And then I'd probably definitely at least get a set of aluminum heads. And I'd probably do that even if I did the 302, just because what I've been reading is these E7 Fox Body, you know, GT 302 heads are not all that really, you know, it's just a bunch of work. Who wants to go through all this work for 250 horsepower? Or whatever it is. I'm not even sure it's that much on an 87 stock GT. Plus it's a speed density car. So it just gets into something that's going to take me a good year or so to do. And if I'm going to go through that kind of work, I'd rather just put a 351 Windsor in it with mass airflow and a shaft and aluminum heads. So, you know, that cylinder being, you know, 90 pounds, 100 pounds, and the other three not much better, it's got me like, I cannot just put this back together. It's never going to run worth a damn. And it actually was coughing and hiccuping, and when it drove home, but it just ran like hell. It just, I mean, not in a good way either. So, that's where I'm at. Low compression. There's just no fix for that except start pulling the motor apart. That's the fix. And those of you that haven't been through that yet, and you got something out there that you're working on, you've done your tune up and it still backfires through the carburetor, or whatever, you know, just no power, do a compression test, and that'll tell you the health of the engine, which is what I wanted to know. And, I found out what I needed to know. So it just, I know that now, but I don't have answers to the questions I just presented to y'all. So what would you do? Would you do the 302? Would you put it all back, go through all that work, and just, yeah, I could just probably just reuse the pistons and just rings and bearings, clean it all up, valve job, and be minimal cost, and it'd run about like it did when it was new. Awful lot of work. Would you just convert it to mass air, AFR heads, Edelbrock head, whatever, you know, put a shaft in it, you know, have a pretty respectable 302, or would you just go for the big one? The big Windsor over there, the 351. Would you just do, I don't know. I know you can make power. You can go up 408, I think, what is that? Something like that, with the stroker kit on the 351. These little cars, that's a lot of motor for this little car. A lot of motor. Talk about having to tie the frame. Oh yeah, better do more than that. All right, please like and subscribe. I'm taking you guys on another journey. I want to decide something. So, thank you very much. I'll let you all know.